Zoom has a question, you could raise your hand. If not, we'll get started in the room, and then we could always go back to Zoom. All right, let's get started in the room here. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Let's start with John and then Tyler.
Hey, Dvon, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. What kind of problems does Kevin Jennings present for you guys as a defense, even when it comes to like maintaining pass rush lanes for a defensive tackle when you know he might take off?
Honestly, that's the thing. It's going to be balance in the cage. It's going to be a big thing. You know, he's a huge threat on his feet, especially when it comes to extending plays. That's probably going to be the biggest thing. That's kind of the last thing we want, you know. We have some incredible corners, but when you have a QB that likes to move around as much as he does and extend plays, sometimes things tend to happen, you know, especially with great QBs like himself. He's done it all season. You see it on film, so.
We're on the right, Tyler.
Dvon, thanks for the time today. Coach Allen just talked about the defensive tackle situation and trying to go a little deeper, moving into the playoffs beyond the top three. How have you seen Ty and Xavier, you know, embrace this competition, embrace this opportunity to play a meaningful role in the playoffs?
I mean, you have to understand that this entire season, this entire year since the end of last year, they've kind of understood what the situation was in terms of D-tackle. There may have been a chance to step up, you know. Seasons are long. The season is super long. I mean, injuries happen, et cetera, et cetera. So I think they've truly stepped into that mindset of a growth mindset. I think they've done an incredible job, especially in these last couple weeks, of taking that very seriously, you know, step by step, day by day. They've grown tremendously. I mean, their pad level, hands, striking, their feet, it's grown tremendously, and I think they're ready to play at a high level here very soon.
In the middle, Seth.
Dvon, thanks for the time. We talked to Coach Allen. He said that, you know, this week between the transfer portal and preparing for the game, you know, the staff kind of has to do a great job compartmentalizing things. From a player's perspective, what has that been like when, you know, some of the coaching staff is focused on some other things and, you know, maybe you have a teammate or two, you know, leaving in the middle of the week to enter the portal?
I mean, the situation, it sucks. I'm sure you heard Coach Franklin earlier in the week talk about that a little bit. But that's just the situation. That's just the nature of college football right now. I mean, you have to understand that with this college football playoff run that teams are having and the portal being open only for a certain amount of time, it puts players and coaches in a pretty tough position, especially when you're thinking about next year and in terms of how you want your team to grow or how you want to grow individually. I mean, it just sucks. You know, you can't really do too much about it, but I think there does need to be a change. I agree with Coach Franklin, like there does need to be a change in college football. If the playoffs are going to be structured like this and go on for this long, I think the portal and how it's conducted needs to be adjusted as well.
In the front, Bob.
Hey, Dvon, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. A lot of people are talking about the weather this week. I wanted to ask you about the crowd noise. Mm-hmm. As a guy who's been here for a while on the defensive side,
yes, sir.
If this place has got close to capacity and they're into the game, and they're going to be, what can it do to an opposing offense? How does it impact them? What can they not do maybe as well? Mm-hmm. Any particular memories of maybe the crowd being a huge factor in a big game here? Yeah,
I mean, you look back, you go back to Michigan or when we were at Iowa. I mean, crowd noise plays a huge part, especially when you're talking about cadence and getting the snap off. That messes with teams a lot. And now they have to go on silent cadences, which they give away physical signals, like the center may nod his head or may move his hand or the guard may tap the center. Like those things matter and make a difference in the game, especially when you're looking at it on tape. And so I think that matters coming into this week. They're going to have a tough time, especially in Beaver Stadium with the whiteout going on, adjusting to that noise level. So,
Here on the right, Mark.
Dvon, along those lines, what does it mean to you and the other seniors to get one last game here at Beaver Stadium?
Oh, it means everything. You know, last game we had at home was Maryland. I mean, it was a good game. We were done a little bit earlier than I wanted to be, so I was a little upset because I thought we may not have another game at Beaver Stadium. So just to have this opportunity again just means everything, you know, especially when you're talking about a playoff game at Beaver Stadium, the first one ever. It's tremendous. You know, I'm thankful for it every single day, and all the other seniors as well. You know, we've taken this week, these last couple weeks especially, and kind of just took it all in. You know, this doesn't happen too often where you have a team like ours, a moment like this with fans like we have, and give them this opportunity in such a big game. Like, it doesn't happen often. So we just appreciate and we're thankful for it all.
In the front, Zach.
Hey, Dvon. Thanks
How
for
you
the time. What would you say to a teammate or just a mutual friend, someone that's weighing a decision to go pro early because you decided to come back for the season when you had the opportunity to maybe move on? What would you say to a teammate if they're weighing that decision? What advice would you give them?
Say that one more time.
A teammate that's weighing returning to Penn State or going off to the NFL a little early, you decided to come back. What can you share about your experience that would be helpful advice to a teammate that you wanted to help out?
I mean, you look at the difference between last year and this year. I mean, look how much further we've come. You know, the opportunities that we have this year. I mean, the experiences that I've had, I would say weigh things carefully. There's going to be a lot that you're going to have to deal with, but there's also going to be a lot that you're going to be blessed with in turn, you know. I got another year with my brothers to do something that's never been done before, which is an incredible opportunity, and I think that should speak more volumes to, you know, who they are as a player if they look at that super critically. And I think everybody should just, you know, give it a second look and think critically about it, because, you know, you're only in college once. You only have so many years. The league is going to be there. So,
In the front, Audrey.
Hey, Dvon, how are you?
good. How are you?
Good, thanks. You obviously, as one of the leaders on this team, been here for a long time. It seemed to me a little bit different after the Ohio State game where you guys right away, a lot of guys said, hey, we want to play them again. We want to get another shot at these teams. There's no moral victories in this thing, but is that in the Oregon game as well? Like, are they confidence boosts, or is it a good measuring stick when you say, hey, like, we were close to these guys? Like, is there any thought of that, or not at all?
I mean, we think very highly of ourselves in terms of who we are as a team and our preparation and what we do on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis. I will say, though, that, you know, given the talk in the press about Oregon and how good they were, and when we went out there, I mean, they're a really good team, but we're also a really good team. I mean, we had our hiccups on defense, but we were still able to stick in there with them. So that does give a big vote of confidence in terms of who we are as a defense and who we are as a team. Our offense went out there and they executed at a very high level. I mean, there was a lot of talk about how we couldn't score in those big games. I mean, when you look at Ohio State, I know that was a big problem that people had. But then you go back and you look at Oregon, and they're putting a lot of points up on the board. I mean, Nick and Fat averaged 9 and 10 yards a carry. Drew threw for how many, like 200 yards or 250? And we had 500-plus yards of total offense. So when you look at the growth and development of our team, it's exponential, and I think that's really good for us going into this playoff run. You know, showing that we're able to grow as much as we are.
Let's go to Zoom. We got Mark Wogenrich.
Hey, Dvon, you got me? Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. You just mentioned, you brought up a little bit having hiccups defensively against Oregon. What did you take away from that game that you're able to apply to Saturday and beyond?
I mean, just getting your cleats in the ground, getting set. I mean, I'm sure teams will watch that and they'll try to go tempo on us, but we've adjusted, and we've adjusted well. I think Coach Allen has done an incredible job of getting us prepared for anything they may throw at us, from having watched the Oregon game or the Ohio State game or wherever games that we had pitfalls as a defense. Coach Allen and Coach Franklin and the rest of the coaching staff have done an incredible job of getting us prepared for anything that we'll see. But I think that's definitely the biggest thing in terms of the tempo, just getting ready, getting set, and, you know, having your ears open just in case we need to adjust to anything on the fly.
Let's go to the middle. Seth.
Dvon, when you look back to the start of your college career and all the changes that have kind of happened, through the years, whether it's NIL, transfer portal, conference realignment, working with agents, what do you think you've learned throughout that journey that maybe, you would maybe teach a kid coming up, like an incoming freshman or something?
Trust the people you trust and lean on those, who have helped you for nothing. A lot of times, especially now in this space with NIL, you look at agencies and you look at those people around you who are trying to profit just a little bit of what you're getting as a student athlete. And I think it's important for student athletes to understand that in terms of how they operate on a day-to-day basis, week to week, with their NIL, without their NIL, however it is, I feel like it's important for them to trust who they trust and, lean on those who helped you for nothing. That's kind of the biggest thing because everybody wants a piece. I mean, you see how the NIL deals are going down nowadays. Kids are going back for millions of dollars. And so it's just very important to try to keep your head on straight and focus on what truly matters.
All right, appreciate it.